Hello everyone, with April Fool's finally here, I decided a quick video was in order to offset your surely horrible subscription list of a bunch of non-video jokes for the day. I will be talking about comedy games this time, mainly games meant to make you laugh or with a particularly strong sense of humor. As usual with these game recommendation videos, I mainly go with what I find most interesting, not necessarily what I feel is the best, so your mileage may vary. Let's start with something recent and something I find extremely fascinating. Broken Reality. The moment I learned of this game's existence, I knew I had to play it. Made by a small indie studio based in Mexico City, Broken Reality is an adventure and puzzle game set in a virtual internet realm that looks like the entire era of GeoCities was spit all over it, down to having an entire area named GeoCity. All the cleverly designed virtual tools make puzzle solving and secret discovering plenty of fun, but just walking through the game's absurd landscape is a delight in and of itself, complete with all sorts of cheap Photoshop filters, 80 color patterns, and some absolutely mesmerizing music. It's equal parts meme-filled nonsense and surprisingly involved story about the cycle of civilization, technology, and even human life. It also has a knockoff Mexican Spider-Man wearing a sombrero who gives you a mission to download a car, so yes, there are many a joke here in this vaporwave nightmare. Armed and Dangerous. From the era of the Xbox, and thankfully with a fully working PC version you can buy right now, Armed and Dangerous came from the developers of the original MDK and Giant Citizen Kabuto, and those developers were some of the most British people that ever existed. While the third-person shooting mechanics are pretty basic, the cutscenes and story are hilarious, filled with a mixture of dry British wit and crude punchlines. It's like if you combined Monty Python with a Looney Tunes short, and it made me laugh far harder than I could have ever expected, combining random characters and composites with no rhyme or reason. Your team includes a talking mole and a tea-drinking Roman robot as you fight waves of Nazis and orcs who use guns, just to give you an idea of how absolutely nothing in this game's world makes sense. And I didn't even get into the basket-weaving monks. The writing is so good that this game managed to get me to laugh at a you mama joke, dead serious about that. So if you can handle some clunk, this is a comedic romp well worth experiencing at least once, just for the sheer audacity of it. Ram Pigeon's Duty. This is without a doubt one of the most surprising games I have ever played. I went in expecting a potty pigeon knockoff with a few celebrity parodies and ended up spreading bird communism with a cannibalistic rat king and fighting a kaiju Tyler Durden pigeon. Ram Pigeon's Duty is the game from a Russian solo developer who has since moved on to make horny puzzle games, unfortunately, which is especially a shame because this first title is an absolute treasure of nonsense. The translation is poor, but the story has branching paths and well-developed characters who engage in complex political and philosophical conflicts, making the whole affair even funnier as you can never escape the sheer ridiculous nature of the premise. Humans are cyborgs who only eat gas and oil now, so we need bird communism so they'll give us bread again because they aren't making any bread to eat to share with us. It just sounds so ridiculous saying it out loud. The actual gameplay can be an overly difficult pain, but the game is short even with the constant retries you'll be doing, and is something you really need to experience every part of. When I say there's absolutely no other game like Ram Pigeon's Duty, I really mean it. Kindergarten. It's like the Newgrounds' age of dominance never ended, for better and worse here in Kindergarten. This is a dark comedy adventure about a kindergartner reliving the same day over and over again, usually dying in increasingly horrible ways, your task being to find every item held by the other students and use them to find the true ending. Of course, this is not easy, and you will be dying a lot. It's a masochistic maze of nonsense where you have to take into account dozens of variables, and what waits as payoff is childish early 00 blood fountains, shot gads, and anticlimaxes that wrap back around into other chaos. It's mean-spirited, but if you grew up during that time of mean-spirited comedy provided by middle schoolers just learning to use Flash, you may get some mileage out of this one. I highly recommend you find the secret ending as well. It's a hell of a piss take. Press X to not die. The return of FMV has been amazing. We've gotten serious mystery games, a return of the Myst developers, and even some cool horror experiments, but sometimes you just want something enjoyably stupid. That's Press X to Not Die in a Nutshell, an interactive movie filled with life or death QTEs and amusingly cute, cheap deaths from people driven mad by video games, which does indeed include a hockey stick to the nuts, and the game does spell this out in words. It's something. The sound mixing is dreadful, while the script ranges from being generally funny to so terrible it wraps back around to getting you to laugh. It's tongue-in-cheek schlock that everyone involved had a blast making, the type of humor that can only come from complete amateurs, and it's dirt cheap too. If you want some good, funny junk food, this is what you want to go for. It's not going to be filling, but you'll enjoy it while you're there. Hector, Badge of Carnage. I kind of hate myself for laughing at these next two, especially Hector. It's a satire about modern British life and a terrible cop who stands out as the best in a completely incompetent force, who ends up involved in a conspiracy to change what is basically Croydon, the punchline of the UK. It's so mean-spirited that it ultimately endeared me anyways, complete with jokes about muffs, violent crime, drugs, social decay, and all sorts of touchy subject matter. It's absolutely not a game for everybody, but the comedic writing chops should not be downplayed, putting everyone on the same miserable level and actually making Hector and his dim-witted partner likable simply by how they manage to navigate it all. Adult comedy usually doesn't make me laugh much, but Hector was one of the few exceptions, with a much stronger sense of wit than you would give it credit for, and man, what an exception it was. Randall's Monday. This game may be my biggest guilty pleasure ever. The low points here are indefensible, including one very tasteless transphobic joke in the later half, but there are just as many other jokes in this one and they fly so fast there's almost always time to make up for it. Despite the lazy looking art style, Randall's Monday is filled with effort and great moments, with a plot that goes completely off the rails in incredible ways I dare not spoil. The weirdest part though is that Randall proves to be a likable character by the end. A toxic, self-obsessed screw-up who ruins the lives of those close to him, wanting to make amends for what he's done and change his ways, as reality keeps finding new ways to punish him in cruel and ironic ways. It took me 10 hours to get through this endless looping Monday, and outside of a few tasteless moments and poorly conceived pixel hunting gag, I enjoyed the journey from start to finish. Definitely one of the more overlooked games in Daedalic's published library. Lastly, The Hex. I wanted to end with something special, and the follow-up from the team behind Pony Island is definitely that. The Hex is drenched in meta-humor, following a mystery story where one of the 6 video game characters is suspected of planning a murder, using the history of the medium for all sorts of great gags. What puts The Hex over the top is that meta element is worked into the controls, creating a game that switches genres all the time while using a unified control scheme, and that initial meta humor starts becoming a tool for drama and even horror. The Hex is equal parts a clever joke and an actually engaging tale about regret and connections, and the ending has to be seen to be believed. Definitely one of the sleeper hits of 2018 that you do not want to sleep on any further. That's it for now. The Loren video has made a ton of progress, script writing has already begun, so look forward to it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and check out my Patreon, every bit of support is appreciated. Till next time.